Sunday. "Friends," Jesus said to his disciple, "I need to go to Jerusalem. I've got some important things to do. I want to celebrate Passover with you there. Will you come with me?"
Yay!
"Sure," said the disciples. "Passover is a great holiday. Such good food, and what a wonderful story Passover celebrates. The exodus of God's people. The Israelites from Egypt. It's good to be with friends and family at Passover." So Jesus and his friends started to go to Jerusalem. When they got close to the city, Jesus said,
"Hey, can you go get me a donkey?"
Hey, let's go get a donkey!
When the two friends came back with the donkey, Jesus climbed on its back and rode down the hill into the city of Jerusalem. The disciples followed behind him. Suddenly, they found themselves in a parade. People were singing and shouting, "Hosanna, Hosanna!
Hosanna! Hosanna!
Hosanna!" People all over heard the shouting and singing, and they joined the parade too. Hundreds of people, thousands of people. They started taking off their coats and laying them on the ground for Jesus and the donkey to walk on. They pulled palm branches down from the trees and waved them as they sang. Then they threw They threw the palm branches on the ground to make a path for Jesus. The crowd gave Jesus a royal welcome. But Jesus was a very different king. He was a king of peace. Not everyone understood that. Jesus was not all what they were expecting. They thought the crowd was too loud and parade was too big.
"Who is this man?"
Someone asked.
That's Jesus, our King.
"He has come to save us." Some of the religious leaders murmured. "Jesus, tell your friends to be quiet. It's way too loud here." But Jesus said,
"We can try to make them quiet, but the whole world is celebrating."
Awesome! Good job.
Whoa!
Nice work, Jesus, the donkey. You guys remember Pastor Bruce? Pastor Bruce loved to talk about this story. He really liked to talk about it because after any event at church, he would go into the kitchen. So in the story that you didn't read, straight out of the non-children's version of the Bible, when he says go and get the donkey, he tells them the Lord has need of this, and then take the donkey. So he would go into the kitchen after any event and he would say, "The Lord has need of this," and then he would eat it. It was a good old man joke. If you remember Pastor Bruce, he was kind of a silly guy. So I always think of Bruce when I think of this Palm Sunday story and going to get something that the Lord has need of. Did you learn anything new? There was a song you guys were talking about. We'll crowdsource now. Did you remember it?
No.
Oh, do you remember there was a Joy School song about riding on a donkey?
Yes.
Yes? Do you know it? They couldn't remember it.
I can't remember.
Anybody?
Jesus riding on the donkey. Something like that?
I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I haven't been to Joy School yet. They haven't let me in. Somebody will figure it out before we leave here, right? Awesome. Okay, great job. All right, next holy day of Holy Week is Maundy, Thursday. Come on down.
Yes. Okay. Oh, sorry. Jesus said. Okay. Jesus knew that the time had come for him to leave this world.
He wanted to share his last Passover meal together with his 12 closest friends, the disciples. Jesus loved his friends and wanted to show them his love in a very caring way. As the friends got ready for the meal, Jesus put water in a large bowl and knelt down on the ground. He wanted to wash the feet of each disciple. When it was Peter's turn, Peter said to Jesus,
You will never wash my feet.
Jesus replied,
Peter, you don't understand what I am doing now, but you will later.
Peter loved Jesus so much that he said,
Then don't just wash my feet, but my head and hands also.
Peter wanted to be as close to Jesus as possible. As they were eating, Jesus sadly told the disciples,
Soon, one of you will betray me. One of you will tell people who don't like me where I am so they can take me away.
This upset the disciples, and each one said,
It's not me you're talking about, is it?
It's not me, is it?
It's not me, is it?
It's not me, is it? It's not me, is it?
It's not me, is it? It's not me, is it? It's not me, is it? It's not me, is it? It's not me, is it?
When Judas said this, Jesus gently replied.
Yes, Judas, you will betray me.
Then Jesus picked up a loaf of bread. He blessed it and gave some to each of his friends, saying,
Take this bread and eat it. This is my body.
He gave thanks and said,
Drink this. It is my blood, which I must give up so the sins of my people may be forgiven.
When the meal was over, Jesus and his friends went to a place called the Mount of Olives. Jesus said sadly,
Soon you will all leave me.
Peter felt bad.
Even if all the others leave you, I won't.
Jesus looked at his dear friend and said quietly,
You will pretend you don't, before the sun rises, you will pretend you don't know me 3 times.
Peter said,
Jesus, I love you too much to ever do that to you.
and all of the other disciples said the same thing. Jesus is betrayed. Jesus had a good friend named Peter who was there when Jesus healed people and made miracles happen. Jesus liked Peter so much that he gave Peter the nickname the Rock. Jesus had another friend named Judas. Jesus, Peter, Judas, and the other disciples spent lots of time together. They were all together when Jesus told them that his life had to end. It was a sad and hard time for Jesus and his friends. Jesus felt so sad that he went to a quiet place in a garden and prayed.
Please, God,
Jesus prayed.
make me strong. Help me trust you.
Jesus asked the disciples to come to the garden and stay awake while he prayed. But they fell asleep.
Wake up, wake up, wake up.
Jesus told the disciples 3 times. When Jesus finished praying, it was time for them to go and face hard things. Even though Jesus had many friends, he had some bad enemies too. Some people were scared that Jesus would change the world too much with love. Judas got scared too. He let Jesus down. Judas told some of Jesus' enemies where Jesus was. When soldiers came to the garden, Judas kissed Jesus on the cheek to show them who they were looking for.
Come on, Judas. Get up there.
Blow a kiss.
There you go.
All right. The soldiers took Jesus away. Judas and Peter ran away and hid. They were so scared. Later, Peter walked outside the place where Jesus was on trial. A girl saw Peter and said,
He's a friend of Jesus. He's in trouble too.
Peter wanted to help his friend Jesus, but he was scared, so he pretended he didn't know Jesus.
I don't know him. I don't know him. I don't know him.
Peter said. His lie made him feel even worse inside. Peter ran away again. He cried and cried. Peter felt so sad for Jesus. Peter felt very, very sorry. But Jesus knew that Peter loved him. Jesus knew that Peter was his friend. That's why he had given Peter such a special job. The Rock became a strong leader in the church. He told many, many people about his best friend Jesus.
I know him. I know him. I know him.
Peter told everyone, and that was the truth.
Do you have to open pack of matzo? Everybody's gonna get a sit here. Yes. Okay, so just a second. I'm gonna give you a snack. Halftime. Concessions.
Intermission.
Intermission. Thank you.
Halftime.
All right. So, we talk about Passover as the feast of what?
Like holiness.
Unleavened bread. So conveniently, we're talking during Lent at Westwood about my neighbor is Jewish. And I think it's important for us to stop and talk about Maundy, Thursday, and the meal that was actually taking place when Jesus was alive. Jesus was a Jew. And the festival of the Passover, who knows what Passover actually was? Goes all the way back to Egypt, yes, and Moses.
The angel of death passed over the Jewish households and killed everybody else.
Yes. So the angel of death passed over your house if what?
If you had
If you had lamb's blood over your doorposts, right? So the angel of death would pass over your house. So the festival of the Passover is about sacrificial giving to God, right? And that you would take the sacrifice, the blood of the sacrifice, and put it on your doorpost so that the angel of death would pass over your house. So, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, I'm going to let you, this is matzo, which is unleavened bread. I'm going to give each of you, just grab it and just hang on to the corner and crack yourself off a little piece. How about that? And taste what it tastes like. Taste what it tastes like? I guess that's how you taste something, right? Yeah, okay. So this remains a traditional Jewish food, right? They use it for their festival days. Have you ever had matzo ball soup? This is what's in there. You guys are taking really small bites. That stuff is good. Or maybe you don't think so. Maybe you think it tastes like cardboard. I don't know. It's totally an unsalted saltine. You actually can get slightly salted matzo if you want to rush out to the grocery store after you leave here. It's often served with, what do you think on top?
horseradish.
Not soup. That would go right through. What's that?
Chicken horseradish.
Horseradish? Could be, yeah. Jam?
Nutella.
A lot of times. Nutella? Probably not the Passover food. Oh my gosh, I love it. All right. Raise your hand if you learned something new in the brilliant retelling of Maundy, Thursday. Yes? What'd you learn?
That Judas kissed Jesus.
Oh yeah, he did kiss Jesus. Not in the retelling, but
Dang it!
yes. Dang it. What else did you learn? That's the only thing anyone learned?
That's really not Monday.
It's not Monday, right?
It's actually Thursday.
Correct. Anybody else? All right, we better keep going here. What day are we on? Good Friday.
Alrighty, are we ready? Alright, so the priests were mad at Jesus. So they made a plan. Let's take Jesus to the governor, Pontius Pilate. He can get rid of Jesus. When Pontius Pilate saw Jesus, he asked,
"Are you the king of the Jews?"
but Jesus didn't answer. Pilate thought kings ruled over countries and people. It wasn't the same thing, so Pilate was frustrated.
No.
But there were still some people who wanted to kill Jesus. Pilate didn't
Kill him! Death to Jesus!
Pilate didn't think Jesus did anything wrong, but he didn't want any trouble, so he handed Jesus back over to the people. This made the priests happy, because soon they would be able to kill Jesus. Alright. It was a sad day when Jesus died. The soldiers who had arrested Jesus teased him for pretending to be a king. They took his clothes away and put a purple robe on him. Where'd a purple robe go?
That's red.
Alright. They made a crown of vines and put it on Jesus' head, and they made Jesus carry a heavy wooden cross. The cross was too heavy for Jesus, and Jesus fell and skinned his knees. So a man in the crowd carried the cross the rest of the way. The soldiers nailed Jesus' hands and feet. Soldiers, and they also raised Jesus up on a hill between two other men who were thieves. Alright. One of the thieves was angry with Jesus and said, "If you are a powerful king, can't you save yourself?" And the man spat at Jesus.
Good job.
But the other thief believed in Jesus, and he said,
Take me to heaven, Jesus.
Have a free t-shirt. So after a while, the world grew very dark, as if a terrible thunderstorm was coming, and as if all of creation was crying because Jesus was about to die. Jesus was feeling all alone, and he prayed to see if God was still there. He looked at the crowd, and he was sad that people still didn't believe that he was God's son, and he asked God to forgive them.
Forgive them.
The soldiers offered Jesus some sour wine, but he didn't want to drink it. He was ready to die. Finally, he had had enough. He breathed a final long, slow breath and died.
The end.
Did you learn anything new from the Good Friday story? It was a little more theologically sound when they were practicing. The t-shirt says love, and Jesus gave love to the criminal. Alright! The final scene of Holy Week is Easter. Action.
Okay, it was early in the morning on the third day after Jesus died. The sky was pink and red with the first light of the sun. The women didn't notice the sky. They hurried to the cave that contained Jesus' body. Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James, led the way. Two others, Salome and Joanna, carried the spices to rub on the body of Jesus. They had a job to do. When the tomb of Jesus came into sight, they froze. Uh-oh, they had forgotten about the huge stone that sealed the opening to the cave. How would they move it? Then the women kept going to the cave anyways. As they came closer, the women could see that the stone had already been rolled away. They peeked inside. Oh, it was dark in there, or it was cold in there. Drip drop, it was damp in there. What? It was empty in there. Jesus was gone. Okay, an angel appeared in sparkling white clothes. The glow from the angel brightened even the darkest corners of the cave. The women shielded their eyes from the blinding light.
Don't be afraid.
The angel said,
Jesus isn't here. This is a place for the dead. Jesus is alive. Hurry.
The angel said.
Go tell the disciples.
The women did not delay. They ran to tell Jesus' friends what they had seen and heard. Mary bumped into a man, tripped and fell at his feet. Wait, she knew those feet. A familiar hand reached out to help her. Wait, she knew that hand. She looked up. Yes, she knew that smile. It was Jesus. Hello, friends. Jesus
Hello,
said.
friends.
Jesus was really alive. The women hugged his feet and shouted with joy. Go tell the others the good news that I am alive. Jesus said, I will meet them in Galilee. I can't wait to see them again. The women had a new job to do. They had to tell everyone Jesus was alive.
Oh my gosh. I love it.
This was the most
Nice work.
really dramatic.
That's 5-star rating on IMDb.
Did you use the Easter egg as one of your props?
Yeah.
We had a taxi too, and a vegetable.
What was the Easter egg?
Like some spices.
Spicy egg. I didn't know this before, but I found an interesting fact about Easter eggs that I wanted to share with you. In medieval Europe, Christians would abstain, and actually Catholics still today, abstain from eating eggs and meat, some just meat, during Lent. Eggs laid during that time were often boiled to preserve them and were given as Easter gifts to children and servants. Hence the Easter egg. I didn't know. Some traditions claim Easter egg is symbolic of the resurrection of Jesus, with the shell of the egg representing the sealed tomb and the cracking of the shell representing the resurrection. Who knew? It wasn't just a sales gimmick. Christians in the Middle East and Greece painted eggs bright red to symbolize the blood of Christ, which I did read a couple of other things that some traditions talk about that eggs were actually brought to the soldiers as a bargaining tool to not crucify Jesus, and that, again, these are legends and traditions, right? So who knows if this actually happened, but that people believe that Mary's tears stained the eggs, which is another reason why we would dye Easter eggs. So, things I hadn't known before. So, who knows when Palm Sunday is this year? It's on a Sunday. Good job.
Sunday before Easter.
The Sunday before Easter. You guys are really good.
March 25th.
March 25th. Yeah. March 25th. And Easter Sunday this year is on what day?
April Fools.
April Fools. I cannot wait to hear this year's Easter sermon, right? April Fools, he's not dead. He's alive. It's going to be so perfect. I love it. Well, thank you so much for hanging in there with me tonight. I hope you had a little bit of fun and it was a nice change of pace than just sitting and listening the whole time. So, I hope that you've learned something and that you'll carry these images with you as we travel through the next weeks of Lent. Yeah.
Is there a place you're supposed to sign in tonight?
Thank you. Yes. That would be a good idea. I'll just have a piece of paper over here before you leave. Thank you. the next thing is that some of you, many of you actually, have signed up for the elective of Lenten worship. We do not have parent-student learning again during Lent. So we hope that you will worship as a family, if it works out for you, at 6:45 the remaining Wednesdays of the month. But what I do really hope is that these holy days are something that you would attend together as a family. Part of being a mature Christian is knowing the story from beginning to end. And so to experience those, I know it happens to also be spring break this year for a lot of you, but I would hope that you could give it a try, journeying from Palm Sunday to Easter Sunday as a part of this holy journey. So thanks for being here tonight. Sign in before you leave, and go in peace to love and serve the Lord.
Yours too?
That's like 5 stars.
Thank you.